Aviators among you will possibly have wondered what use-based airspace is all about. Is this a new class of airspace? In this video, we will explore the question, what are use-based airspaces? To answer the question of whether use-based airspaces are a new class of airspace, we should first clarify what airspace classes are in the first place. Airspace is divided into distinct spaces. These spaces are classified according to the services that are provided to aircraft operators. Associated with each airspace class are rules to be observed like minimum visibility, minimum distance from clouds, maximum speeds, clearances, etc. And very importantly, airspace classes are either controlled or uncontrolled. In uncontrolled airspace, no air traffic control services are provided for aviation, whereas in controlled airspace, air traffic control services are provided. Clearances must be requested from the responsible air traffic control unit, and that air traffic control unit is responsible for the separation of traffic, that is, maintaining defined minimum distances between aircraft. In this context, it is distinguished between aircraft flying under visual flight rules and those flying under instrument flight rules. As an example, let's take a look at the airspace classes in use in Germany. These are airspace classes Charlie, Delta, Echo and Golf. All airspace classes are controlled, at least in part, except for Class Golf airspace, which is uncontrolled. In Class Charlie and Delta airspace, the situation is unambiguous. They are controlled airspaces. All aircraft are provided with air traffic control services. In Class Echo airspace, flights that operate under instrument flight rules are provided with air traffic control services. Flights operating under visual flight rules are not. In Class Golf airspace, air traffic control services are not provided. The introduction of use-space does not change anything about the existing airspace class system. When people talk about use-space, they are not talking about a new class of airspace. The airspace classes will continue to exist with use-based airspace added on top. Use-based airspaces are so-called UAS geographical zones. UAS geographical zones are defined as a portion of airspace established by the competent authority that facilitates, restricts or excludes UAS operations in order to address risks pertaining to safety, privacy, protection of the personal data, security or the environment arising from UAS operations. So these are special areas of protection where EU member states can, for example, prohibit the operation of drones altogether or where conditions apply to the operation of drones. And the latter applies to use-space. Use-based airspaces are therefore spaces where drone operations are subject to conditions. One condition, for example, is the obligation to obtain a UAS flight authorization before each flight. Is this important for me as a drone operator? Yes, definitely. When operating drones in use-based airspaces, it is crucial to know which airspace class the operation is to take place in. This determines what drone operators can expect and how they must act. The use-based regulation distinguishes between two cases: controlled air traffic, for which air traffic control services are provided, and uncontrolled air traffic, for which no air traffic control services are provided. If aircraft for which air traffic control services are provided intend to fly through a use-based airspace, the responsible air traffic control unit is obliged to perform a so-called dynamic airspace reconfiguration. This means that the limits where drones are allowed to fly within the use-based airspace are adjusted laterally and vertically, or in the extreme the use-based airspace is switched off entirely. When this happens, all concerned UAS operators must be informed by their use-based service providers and clear the airspace in question, for example by landing or leaving without undue delay. On the other hand, for manned aircraft flying in Class Golf airspace, that is in uncontrolled airspace without air traffic control services, there is no air traffic control unit that could make a corresponding adjustment to a use-based airspace. Here, the regulation stipulates that those manned aircraft must make themselves electronically conspicuous if they wish to fly through a use-based airspace. USSPs receive their transmitted position data and forward it to concerned UAS operators. Those UAS operators must then decide whether and how to act based on the traffic information. Remember, UAS operators are responsible for avoiding any risk of collision with manned aircraft. U-space is not limited to certain altitudes. However, it is reasonable to assume that drone traffic will be at low altitudes below 500 feet for the time being. Since manned aviation has to maintain a minimum safe altitude of 1,000 feet over cities, towns and settlements and of 500 feet everywhere else, the situation where manned and unmanned aircraft could meet are limited to those operations of manned aircraft that typically occur at very low altitudes, like takeoffs and landings, ground infrastructure inspections, or emergency medical services. So let's recap. U-space airspaces do not represent a new airspace class but supplement the existing airspace class system. U-space airspace is not exclusive to drone traffic. Manned aviation may use the airspace at any time. In Class Golf and Echo airspaces, it must be assumed that manned aircraft do not know if and where drones are in the airspace. Therefore, UAS operators should keep well clear and land if in doubt. When preparing for a flight in a U-space airspace, UAS operators should find out which airspace class their operational volume is located in. Information about airspace classes can be found in the official aeronautical charts, which are publicly available. This was a short introduction to the topic of airspace classes in connection with U-space. If you missed any points or would like to know more about a particular topic, please let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Bye!